are celebrating the opening of Man and Machine, featuring the work of Mauro Wieser, who is going to speak to you as well. So let's give him a round of applause. I do want to start by thanking all of our sponsors who make it possible for us to do what we do. I want to thank the City of Maitland, who are our partners in preservation, and our exhibitions are also supported by grant funding through United Arts of Central Florida, Orange County, the Galloway Family Foundation, and for most of the part, Florida State as well. So we are very grateful for all of them. And thank you for all of you for coming out and supporting us. Now this exhibition takes its title from a short poem by D.H. Lawrence, which is also called Man and Machine. And I want to start the evening off by reading that for all of you. Man invented the machine, and now the machine has invented man. God the Father is a dynamo, and God the Son a talking radio, and God the Holy Ghost is gas that keeps it all going. And men have perforce to be little dynamos and little talking radios, and the human spirit is so much gas that keeps it all going. Men invented the machine, and now the machine has invented man. D.H. Lawrence wrote that poem in 1932, just a few years before our site's founder, Jules Andre Smith, would found this site as a haven for artistic exploration and experimentation. And that was an era of budding technology. That's the same year the neutron was discovered, Polaroid photography was invented, the radio telescope was invented. It's the same year the parking meter was invented, which you might all regret. But it wouldn't be another 30 years from then that the first desktop calculator was invented, which at the time weighed about 30 pounds and was almost 2 feet long. And here we are, less than 100 years later, and we hold almost all of the knowledge of humankind in the palm of our hands. So much has changed from then. The world is radically different from where it was in 1932. But the artist's role in helping us navigate this unsteady terrain, to hold a light to the uncertainty, that role is the same. In this body of work, Mauro Wieser explores questions of technology, labor, masculinity, the role of men in this changing world, and he does it with grace and eloquence. I think he's brave in his questions, and I think he's honest in his answers. And his sense of humor and play create an easy entry point to conversations of surprising depth. Our chief curator, Dan Hess, has done an exquisite job in curating this work, and I am incredibly proud that we are having these conversations in our gallery. And so now I'd like to welcome up Dan Hess to talk more about the exhibition.
I actually love following my director when I make remarks, because all the beautiful words were spoken, and now I can just be my crazy, chaotic self. But I do have to thank Danielle. The one thing that's really beautiful about this place right now is we honestly try to have genuine, heartfelt conversations. The stories of our artists are really important to us. The stories, especially someone like Sinue or Richard or other people that are here that have come through our residency programs, we don't take them and their stories lightly, and I think that shows in the exhibition you'll see tonight. I also want to thank my fellow staff who, without, I know I get thanks for this, but without their help, I could not have done it. I need to thank specifically Katie Benson, Dane Cole. I especially want to thank Hannah Miller for their incredible job in promoting, their creative job in promoting this exhibition. I worked with a outside contractor, Karina Jimenez, who is instrumental in me being able to do my job, so I'd be amiss without thanking them. Like I said, I'm really proud and delighted that at this moment in time in this institution that we all have come to love, that we can have these kind of conversations. There's something about Mauro and meeting him through the residency program and getting to have conversations with him in his studio. It's kind of a delicate conversation that he's having, but what happens is when you get to speak to him firsthand, and I would encourage you all to try to do that tonight, you get to see that there's this incredible empathy and care that is underneath the sense of humor, underneath the technical brilliance, is this incredible care for the subject matter that he's kind of trying to wrap his arms around. We know that this is not going to solve a lot of problems, but we do know that it's important that the conversation is at least initiated in a gallery setting, and I'm really proud that that can happen here. Let's see where I'm at with my thing here. We're honored that Mauro's mother and father and his brother are here with us tonight. I think they're in the audience right there. And Mauro's partner. So please give them a round of applause. I mentioned them because Mauro's father was a carpenter, and in conversations with Mauro, he said that a lot of his contemplation on, man's identity and relationship to their work and technology came from seeing his father come home and his exhausted, bad knees, bad back, and the labor that was that he invested in every day, and the pride that he took in the work that he did. I don't want to spend too much more time, but I think it is important to just know that, I said in my comments in the thing, I try to do my homework as a curator. I did an exhibition here 2 years ago that dealt with a wonderful artist that was dealing with sexual assault and things like that. And when I read, I tried to read up on the statistics, and I was just taken back about the frequency of these things happening in our society and things like that. And equally, when I started to talk to Mauro in his studio, I started to kind of look. I'm a single parent. I have 2 sons, and so I started to read up on this kind of really tenuous place that young men are in our society, and how they're looking for a place where they can feel accepted. They're kind of walking on this precipice where they can fall to the left and the right, and it's kind of really tragic that nobody is allowing them into this conversation that is uniquely their own. And I'm really proud of the work that Mauro has done to just kind of bring this conversation and get it started in the mainstream. So without further ado, please welcome Mauro Wieser.
Proud. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. I really, really appreciate this. This was a really long time in the making. Not just the 1 year that I had here for the residency, but several years leading up to this. With COVID and all that stuff, it's really hard to move your art career in any direction. And this really has been it feels like the start of a career. Finally able to get back to this point. Spend a year, have that space, and really, share my voice and share my experience. So I appreciate every one of you guys coming out here, checking this out. It's been really, really transformative to be here. And please, let's get a round of applause for Keith. Seriously, all the credit to these guys. The Maitland Art Center is a fantastic institution. This is exactly what young, emerging artists need. A place where they're not bothered, they can work, it doesn't cost money, and they have support, people that really care. That's what young artists need, especially in Florida, the way things are going with the arts in this country. A lot of funding gets cut, and it's really, really important to have places like this, because if you're making work in your kitchen, it's just so hard. And having this kind of a place is really, really, really important for young artists, emerging artists. So I would encourage anyone here, to really support places like this, especially the Maitland here, because they have just wonderful people involved. That all being said, the work here really, I think it speaks for itself. If you want to know more, please find me, come ask me a question. There's too much being said in there to really explain it all here. But the main point really is this is for my fellow men, but also for my fellow humans. A healthy male populace that knows how to deal with not just fixing the car or the cabinet or picking up the heavy thing, but also can help themselves mentally and to move forward, so that everyone can sort of have a much more cohesive dialogue about the struggles men face in the world. And I think that would just be healthy and good for everybody involved, women, men, everybody in between, So thank you guys so much for coming out, and please come in there, chat me up. I'm an easygoing guy, so just say hello. Don't feel the need to be stuffy or uptight with me. It's really all fun in there, and thank you guys again for coming out. I really appreciate it.
Hey, I was thinking while we're here, could we take 1 or 2 questions for Mauro?
Sure.
I think, sir, yes.
What studio are you in?
What studio? Number 13.
He was in number 13.
Yeah, which is back left
Right.
over there.
Alexander Alvarez is in that studio now.
Yeah, Alexander Alvarez, he's right there.
Richard Munster was in that studio right before Mauro.
And Erica Sobrak and Nicholas Kalemba,
They were in that too, yeah, absolutely.
So quite a history of
Quite a history of excellent people coming through that studio.
No
for sure.
pressure, Alex. No pressure.
Everything. Alex, give us a wave so people can see who's in that. There you go. And listen, we have a wonderful thing where they just moved in, but we have a wonderful thing where the artists will give studio hours where the public can come and visit them, in their studio. So we'll post those in our social media, and we'll have them in our gallery soon enough. So, anybody else have a question for Mauro? Sir.
I got a question about you.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's movement there.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, there's motors that are driving that, but can you, and I don't even know how to ask the question other than, it's interesting to me to see movement in art.
Yeah.
And can you kind of elaborate a little bit on how that fits into
Yeah,
the
sure.
concept of
Initially, I started making kinetic works just because I thought it was that one extra factor to tweak, right? Because I can control the composition, I can control the texture, but now I can also control the time, right? So it's like an extra, it's like I have extra words in my vocabulary, if you will, right? So that's sort of where it started. But now that I'm here, I think it's also really important to make, if I'm going to make work about men and manhood, it needs to appeal to that demographic. And, things like woodworking, gears, motors, those rocket engines, all those things, I think not only speak to that topic, but also invite the correct audience to come look at that work. And, I think most men, they love that cool moving thing, that gear thing. Like, we're just drawn to that, or I am personally, so that's kind of just my take on that. And so I'm glad you're interested in that as well. Yes, sir.
Coming to tonight's event, I didn't realize that the demographic you're trying to target was young men. And as a young man myself, I'm definitely intrigued. Can I elaborate more about what prompted you to sort of bring voice to this issue?
Yeah, well, it's difficult to say what exactly brought it up. In one way, when you are an artist and you start making, you look for authenticity, And I was making, when I first got here, I was trying different things, and then this was it just felt so authentic to talk about that right now. It's something, I had personal struggles with that in the past where I didn't know that I could use like mental health assistance, It's like a man being the victim or being abused. I'm like, that's not me. That can't happen. But it did happen, and it happens to a lot of men, I think. And so that was a small part of it, It's like my own sort of personal experience with like a really, negative stage in my life where I didn't even know that I needed to sort of seek help, right? And I think, I always thought of myself as pretty smart, and then I realized I didn't know much about myself, and so that's why I really wanted to bring this conversation up so that other men can say, I really never thought about myself in depth in that way. So I hope that other men can can see that and be more vulnerable, be more open about talking about, the problems they're facing. So I'm glad I spoke to you. Thank you. Thank you for asking a question.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Anybody?
Can we take one more question?
Yeah.
Yes. Channing.
Yes.
What do you see yourself working on in the future?
That's a great question. Yeah, I want to continue this topic, but I also have this kind of different idea that I've been working on, which is, so far the working title is just this idea of like Scamerica, which is the word scam with the word America, and I thought it was just an interesting route to go where I would love to make some work about, sort of the difficulties of like American life, like dealing with health insurance, dealing with like housing and that kind of stuff, any kind of medical help or like insurance, all those little things, all those little facets of life that are really kind of like this giant scam, like I know people who were just affected by the hurricane and they've been paying their insurance for years and the insurance goes, sorry, we can't help you. I'm like, what a scam. You're destroying people's lives with that. And I think that might be another interesting topic to explore, but it's all up in the air. Maybe I won't ever do anything with it, but that's just sort of part of my thinking right now. So something like that, possibly. But good question, it's still blurry in my mind too. I'm probably gonna take a week or two off and then start thinking about it.
A week or two.
Yeah, relax. But yeah. I'll be sure to post things and share as soon as I have a direction that's clear. Any other questions, or you wanna?
Anyone else?
Well, thank you. Well, please give Mauro another round.